What's going on, everybody? Robert Peary. What's going on, everybody? Robert Peary here, and I'm gonna cut the roaster off for a little second. We'll go ahead and just kill the gas just for a second. We're gonna be roasting on the Kaldi roaster today. Super cool little machine. Actually was my first little roaster I got. Whenever I got it, I think it was like $200 on, I forgot where I got it. I'm pretty sure it was Amazon. But anyway, when I got it, they had this old thermocouple on here, which was Celsius. Also had a little hand crank. I did the hand crank for about 3 or 4 roasts, and then I was like, nah, no way, John Wayne, we ain't doing that. So I got a little motor off of Amazon, a little 60 RPM motor. I think this thing was maybe like 15 to 20 bucks. It's pretty cheap. Rigged it up on here, welded some little bars on there, bolted it into the side so it'll turn, and you know, the motor won't turn, but the actual drum will turn. Worked out pretty good. And this little thing is a tank, man. I mean, you can drop it, you can bang it, you can do all kinds of things. I haven't changed anything on it. So real quick, I'll go over the items you're gonna need for the Kaldi roaster to kind of roast on. You're gonna need some type of burner, and you're gonna need some type of fuel. It could be propane, could be whatever type of little burner that you put the Kaldi roaster on top of. You're gonna need a thermocouple of some sort. They have, you know, turkey type ones that you stick in a turkey, whatever you wanna do. I mean, we're bootstrapping, you know what I mean? This ain't like you're going and getting all the fancy dancy type things. It comes with one. If you're into Celsius, this one ain't really that good, the one it comes with, so I would say go ahead and get something different. I had this one for roasting turkeys and baking steak. Yeah, works out pretty decent, you know what I mean? Has a little thin kind of thermocouple, heats up real quick. Changes you can see fluctuate pretty easy. I like that. You're gonna need a little funnel to kind of get your coffee into the roaster. And at the end, whenever you go to dump the coffee, you just pick it up, dump it in like yay. You're gonna need a little basket or something to kind of dump it in. Now I will say, it's messy. Chafe is going all over the place, so most likely you'll be roasting outside. It also gets a little smoky at the end, so we'll get into all that later. You're gonna need a little scale, and you're gonna need some coffee, some green coffee. I got about 200 grams I've already weighed out, so we don't have to go through all that mess. This is 200 grams of green coffee. We're roasting a little Java today from Indonesia. Also, you're gonna need a little notebook. This thing doesn't hook up to Artisan, at least mine doesn't. Maybe, you know, somehow you can get yours too. I'm sure with all the digital stuff they have nowadays, you can. I do a little piece of paper with this one, a little notebook. I've been doing these for a long time. I just make some columns, make some rows, easy peasy. You know what I mean? Real quick, when we're going into the Kaldi roaster, I'll kind of go over some of the roaster basics that maybe this machine will do that maybe, you know, bigger machines won't. There will be some basic things that won't transfer over, but then most of it will be the same, you know, like if the batch size and stuff like that, we'll kind of go all into it while we're roasting, kind of give you an idea. You're also going to need a stopwatch of some sort. You can use a watch, you can use a clock, and you can use your phone, whatever you want to do. Kind of what the game plan is, I'm going to heat this up to about 375, put my thermocouple in. At that point, you're literally just having the air in the drum. That's all it's doing. You're just seeing what the temperature of the air is in your drum at the moment you drop the beans. We want to be around 375, drop them in. We'll go ahead and start time. And I'll have written down on this piece of paper here, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, you know, all the way down to about 12, because I'm probably going to drop somewhere around there. So right off the bat, I'll go ahead and put down what it is I'm roasting. So Java, and I'll show you kind of a little template. I'll do 200 grams. Right now it's about 68 degrees ambient temp. That kind of will be more important if you're roasting outside. If it's super cold outside, your roast is going to be maybe a little bit different. If it's summertime and it's super hot, the same coffee could change from winter to summer depending on the temperature outside when you're roasting. So just know that. 68 degrees, and then I'll go down and I'll put my start time, my turn temp, and then after that really is just my first crack and then my second crack. You can document the yellows and all that if you want. That's up to you. I usually don't even go into second crack. Usually what I'll do is once I hit first, I'll usually probably wait about a minute, minute and a half after that, and I'll go ahead and drop. That's just what I personally like. That's my little preference with the Kaldi roaster on some of my coffees. Some of them I like a little bit darker. Some of them I like to pull off a little bit sooner. It's just up to you. Real quick on the Kaldi roaster, greener coffee, your larger beans, for me, a lot of your, like, you know, Indonesia Java coffees, your Balis and stuff like that are going to take a little bit more time. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. We'll go ahead and roll into it. I'm going to hook these up, go ahead and get the fuel going again. And real quick on the fuel, depending on what you're using on your dial, I'll actually have pencil marks where I want to basically charge my roaster to, then another little mark where I basically want to start roasting at. So you can mark your dial up to kind of give you an idea of where you want to be on your gas. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this roaster is very sensitive to gas. You turn it a little bit and you'll be blowing past things, and you know, in 4 minutes you'll be hitting first crack. It gets crazy. So be very careful with your gas on these smaller machines, because a little bit of a twist can give you a big twist, if you know what I mean, jelly bean. So anyway, let's go ahead and do that. We got the gas going. Real quick on if you do rig something up like this, depending on which way you put your negative and your positive will depend on which way your motor turns. Also real quick, now that we got it going, what I want to explain is, because my roaster is turning this way clockwise to the mouth, the beans are going to pile up on this back side. So you kind of just want to make sure where your flame is at, it's kind of center of where the pile of beans is going to be. Next thing you want to do too is get your thermocouple and kind of angle it down where the beans are going to be. You don't just want it in the center, you know, not hitting anything. You want it into the beans. So that way, you know, right now it's reading 140 degrees. I just put it in. It's only reading air at this point. Once we put the beans in and the beans start covering up that thermocouple, it's going to read what the center of those beans are. That's where you want your thermocouple. Go ahead and kind of preset it to get kind of down in that little angle where you know the beans are going to be in that back corner back here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get ready to roll. I'm at 277 right now. It's going to heat up pretty quick. I actually had it kind of preheated before I started the video, just to kind of speed up things a little bit. I'm going to turn my gas down just a tad. We're at 367. Go ahead and 376. We're going to go ahead and pour the beans. And we're going to start the timer. Start time was 11:12. So real quick, coming up on 30 seconds. Usually your turnaround time on this machine for me at 200 grams of coffee is going to be right around 1 minute. Now, we'll kind of get into things as we're roasting. I'll kind of explain some of the variables that are going to be affecting the roast, and we can kind of play around with that. So right now we're about 50 seconds. We're down to about 223 degrees Fahrenheit. And it looks like that's where it stopped. I'm at 225 now. We're right at a minute. So I'm going to say 223 was my turn temp. Turn time was 1 minute. So in the beginning, you want this rate of rise to be pretty quick. So I'm probably going to let it go about 3 or 4 minutes, and then you're going to start slowly starting to back off the gas. That's what I'm going to do on this machine. That's going to give us a pretty good rate of rise in the beginning. And then once we get to about 3-4 minute mark, you know, we're going to try to start tapering it off a little bit as we go into the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minute mark. Alright, so right now we're hitting 2 minutes at 260 degrees. The batch size really matters, because if you put, I think the machine's rated for like 250. I don't really like roasting at 250. For me, it takes a lot of heat to evenly roast that amount of coffee. 200 seems to be the sweet spot for me. If you roast anything really below that, you can go down to 100 grams if you want, but just know that you're going to be heating that coffee up super fast, so you got to be very gentle with the gas. Also, it's kind of vice versa. If you put 400 grams of coffee in there, you have to give it a pretty good bit of gas to get that coffee roasted with that much coffee in there. So 200's a good little start. I would definitely start there. Coming up on 3 minutes at 288. You'll start seeing some of the chafing start to come off as it goes into the yellowing phase. A lot of times you won't see this in a regular roaster because this is just straight open to the air. You know, most of your larger roasters have a chafe collector and it's all being sucked out and stuff like that. So it's not going to look like other roasters because you will have this kind of residue in the air and stuff like that. The other thing I like to mention too is your thermocouple. Once you set it in the beginning, if you need to change it, try to change it very quickly from the beginning, because once you get into about 3-4 minutes, moving your thermocouple is going to throw everything off. So it's going to make the data look really weird. So we're at 4 minutes at 310. At this point, I'm going to back off the gas just a tad. I kind of want to coast into about maybe 37 minutes hitting first crack. If you're outside roasting, this, like a gust of wind, can change your temperature real quick. So just make sure if you're outside, you kind of have like some type of enclosure around you, maybe a wall or something. Maybe even put some barriers up of some sort, just to kind of help keep any of the wind or anything like that from really affecting your roast too bad. Coming up on 5 minutes at 327. We'll move it up just a tad bit, slowing down a little bit more than I want, but hey, it's fine. Again, I'm moving very, very little movements. I'll kind of show you right here, and we're not moving it much at all. Another thing too, I created a video here a while back, which is, I think, 10 coffee roasting variables that affect your roast. All of them will apply to this roaster if you want to check it out. I'll link it right here. It's a very helpful little video. Highly would recommend watching it if you're new to roasting. Coming up on 6 minutes, I'm at 342. Now you can get a little spoon, a little small skinnier spoon, stick in there as a little trier. Just kind of be careful that you're not beating your thermocouple around and moving it. So, but you can do that. That's something I used to do in the past. You got pretty good light, you can kind of just look in there and see, you know, we're basically coming up on a good browning stage, and I think we're doing pretty good right now. Now again, this is a pretty cheap little setup. I think I paid $200 at the time. I think right now they run them at $250, maybe $270 or something like that, depending where you look. I'll link a few of them below. Right now we're at 7 minutes at 354. Getting close, we'll start hearing first crack. It's going to sound like basically like popcorn popping in a microwave. So you'll start hearing that. I don't really go off the first one so much. So once you start hearing them consistently go off, that's when I'll go ahead and basically jot that down as my time and my temp for first crack. So coming up on 8 minutes. We're at 8 minutes at 367. All right, so I heard an outlier. I heard 2 outliers. So right at 840 at 378. 840 and 378 is when I'm going to call first crack. You start to hear it more consistent now. I don't usually go off the first one. The first one, I kind of consider that an outlier. That may be one bean that's popping way earlier than the rest. It may be smaller, like who knows. But you can kind of determine at what point you need to drop. I usually go about a minute and a half after. That usually gets me through the entire first crack. So all of my coffee should be cracked by the time we get past that first minute. So we're coming up on about a minute since I first did it. You're hearing a lot of the pop. So my first crack was at 840. I'm coming up on 10 minutes. We're at 396. I'm probably going to go 2 minutes in on this roast. I'll go ahead and drop at 1040. That should put me at about 405 maybe or so. So we'll see where we get to. Coming up on 1032. 1035, I'm at 403. Get your little basket ready. And that's it. 1040, drop. Take that out, and you drop them in. Woo, boy. This is the best part. Go ahead and try to stand up. Basically at this point, I toss it around, kind of get everything cooled down a little bit. Alright, so real quick I go in there and I'll go through the beans kinda. This one definitely got charred. It probably got stuck somewhere in there. Got charred a little bit. So just go through your beans, pick out whatever you think looks just ratchet, because you don't want no ratchet beans in your coffee. Especially with little 200 grams like this, it's super easy to go through there and just make sure nothing's like super dark or anything like that. Anything just crazy, if there's a bolt or some bullets or anything like that. So if you're outside and you got some good wind coming through, you can kind of throw these up in the air and that wind will just take the chaff out from here, which, you know, super helpful if you want to do that. I'm not going to do it now, but you can if you want to just kind of see. It's another variable you can kind of use, is you can reweigh the coffee after this. I probably have about 175 grams now. So that 200 minus 175, you probably got about 25 grams of basically moisture that just left the coffee. If you reweigh it, you're going to see that your coffee actually lost weight wait through this roasting period. Yeah, good little roast. Basically at that point, you just bag it up, Ziploc, whatever you want to do. You're going to find that when you start roasting, you probably should invest in the Ziploc company because you're going to have Ziploc bags everywhere. I'm talking everywhere. So real quick through, in case I kind of like brush through anything, you want to preheat the little roaster before you just start throwing beans in right off the bat. Go ahead and make sure like everything's pretty warm to the touch before you start roasting. That's going to give you a lot of conduction energy into the bean. You have a lot of convection already coming up, just the air kind of going in from that flame. The heat's already pushing the air up and you're having new air come in. But at that point, once you have that conduction energy as well with that coffee in there, you're kind of getting two heat sources that are basically heating up your coffee. You're getting the metal from the roaster, and then you're also getting that air coming up through the roaster while the beans are flying around. So definitely make sure your coffee roaster is preheated. You should have a game plan for your coffee that you're roasting before you put the coffee in. Don't just put the coffee in and then let the roast decide when you're going to drop it. In the beginning, you're not going to really be able to have that foresight. You're not going to know where your heat's supposed to be. You're not going to know all the variables yet. So you may blow past 13, 14, 15 minutes. Is it bad coffee? No. Drink it. See what it tastes like. That's where you're going to learn. All the times that you can taste bad coffee, that you can taste good coffee, you know, out of 30, 40 batches, eventually you're going to hit something. You'll be like, damn, that's different. That's super different. What did I do? And if you have all the data written down, you can literally go back and say, okay, wow, because I dropped it at 8.5 minutes instead of 13 or 14 minutes, it has a lot more snap to it. Like I have a lot more, it's not baked or anything like that. So definitely write everything down. That way when you do get some quality coffee out of it, you can kind of say, okay, what did I do and how can I mimic that? Experiment. Like this is the experiment stage. Don't worry about what all the professionals are saying, like, oh, don't do that because you don't need to and this, that, and the other. No, man. Like experiment with everything. Eat the beans. Like try to crack it 4 minutes and drop it 6 minutes. See what it tastes like. Just experiment and just kind of see like what everything's doing, you know? Because the big thing is you can read about this stuff and you can look at it, but until you start like crunching down into a bean, cupping coffee, pulling a roast at 7 minutes, just seeing what it tastes like, you know? What's a 20-minute roast taste like? Slow it down. See what baked coffee tastes like. You might like it. Seriously appreciate y'all tuning in. This is kind of going to be my new little setup. I'm working on it. This is actually in my building now. I got my roaster over there. I have everything to fix my roaster. I got the bearings, got everything like that. Just haven't done it yet. That's going to be probably my next vlog, basically. Got that coming up. We are cupping coffee this week. We're going to cup the hell out of some coffee. I'm probably going to cup this. I got this little package in the mail. Roaster Defect Kit by Scott Rayo. We're friends now. We're buddies. I like being buddies with y'all. Anyway, love y'all. Peace out. If y'all have anything, hit me up in the comments. This is the Kaldi roaster. Doing cupping next week. Putting that one out. Fixing the old roaster over there. Guys, you gotta love life. You gotta love life. You gotta appreciate what you have. Keep at it. Keep doing all the things. Keep hitting it. If y'all have any questions for me, hit me up. I'm out, guys. Love y'all. Peace out. Peace out.